nor snow, nor sleet, nor icy streets shall stay the presenters, the keynote speakers, and the audience from their appointed rounds. With a little apology to the post office, thank you very, very much for coming on somewhat arduous weather conditions, and I appreciate you all showing up. It's very, very heartening, and to see such a crowd on time is all the more remarkable given the conditions. A warm welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for coming to the Murdock Capital Discovery Investing Forum on Rare Earth Elements and Critical Metals. I would like to introduce my two partners, Luis Mejia. Where are you, Luis? Did you leave already? And Steve Salazzo. So if you have any questions about Murdock Capital, please see them at any of the breaks. And Chris Berry, Mountain House Capital, and Dr. Berry, Discovery Investing, who is here. They both just came back from Vancouver, where they chaired the rare earth mineral for the Cambridge House and had quite a crowd, so I'm sure that Mike will have some very trenchant remarks to make about that. Just a couple of quick acknowledgments of other people who are here. Our good friend Tim Alch from Bear Delbert, who has been very helpful in getting people to here and getting us our keynote speaker at the Uranium Conference last time. As you all know, Bear Delbert is the cutting axe in the consulting business for mining and minerals, and we're delighted that they are willing to help sponsor this today. Laurie Barr, who came all the way from Denver, from the Australian Resources Council. We're going to be doing a symposium with Laurie here in Denver and in New York in the first week of April. It's going to be on Australian mining and minerals companies and natural resource companies. They will have a dual listing in many respects, but I think you'll find it interesting, and look for some e-notes about that coming out fairly quickly. And we have Brian King from Agora Financial. So Brian, who probably knows more about rare earths than all of us in the room combined, save for Michael Berry and our keynote speaker, Mickey Fulp. And I think Brian, we have some remarks as well later on today. We have representatives from the OTC market, from the NASDAQ, from the Toronto Stock Exchange, and the specialist firm on the Amex. So we're well represented in that regard. And so I think we've got a great crowd to hear some very, very interesting speakers. I do want to mention a special thanks to Paul Bradisich in the back, who is the webcaster. I mean, I couldn't do this. This is pretty zoomy from my standpoint. It looks pretty good. And this is all Paul's work. I would commend to anyone that wants to have a webcast event or wants their website updated, Paul's the man. He just does a terrific, terrific job. I just was reading The Economist last night, and I don't know why, at my age, and particularly with the black background and the lights down, I feel like this is semi-mortuary anyway. But I was reading the obituaries, and I don't know why those seem to be interesting. And it was about a fellow by the name of John Gross, who was an Englishman. He was a self-styled man of letters, and somewhat a literary critic, quite well known as a matter of fact. And he said that he was handling the two most explosive commodities in the world, praise and blame. I don't think he ever bothered to take a look at the charts of these rare earth companies and the critical metals companies, because he might have changed his mind a bit on that regard. Because we have companies and stocks that are very, very volatile, parabolic in their increases and vertiginous in their declines in prices. And we've had enormous rises in all of them over the last 6 months, and we've had some very significant corrections over the last month. So I think we're at a point in time where we really need to know what's going to happen next. And I don't think anyone can be more prescient and more knowledgeable than that than our first speaker, Michael Berry, and Mickey Fulp, who will be our keynote speaker at luncheon today, who writes The Mercenary Geologist. He's not here at the moment because he's on CNN, but he will be here in time for our presentation. So I think we will learn a great deal about what can happen over the next year or two in these areas. I know most of you know Mike and his work. He has a website called www.discoveryinvesting.com. If you don't subscribe, I urge you to do so. It's always full of interesting remarks, covering everything from politics to economics to specific stocks to how to invest in small microcap stocks. So I commend that to you as well. I'm going to just do a quick bio on Mike because even though many of you have heard it, it always bears repeating when you have somebody with these kind of credentials. He was born in Colombia, raised in Canada, so he now has 2 natural resource arms already to start with, and has been living in America for a long time. He earned a PhD from Arizona State University in quantitative analysis, and then become into the academic world. He was a professor of investments at the Colgate Darden Graduate School of Business Administration at the University of Virginia, and then followed that up with the Wheat First. Anybody remember Wheat Securities? Great firm. The Wheat First Endowed Chair of James Madison University at Virginia. His career evolved from academia to actually preaching or doing what he preached, and he was a portfolio manager for Kemper Scudder and Milwaukee-based Heartland Advisors. For the past 6 years, he has been editing and writing the Discovery Investing, of which I just mentioned, and he publishes the morning notes. His son, Chris Berry, who is going to be doing some of the introductions of the companies, recently joined Mike on a semi-professional basis, or a semi-basis half of the time, because Chris has his own research as well and has written some very interesting pieces, some of which occurred in Discovery Investing. So Chris is standing over here and will be doing the introduction of the companies. So we have, obviously, the people that know of what they speak. I think there are 4 factors to a wonderful symposium as this one that we're holding. The first has to be a topical and timely discussion, and that's obviously the case in this case. Secondly, you've got to have credible companies presenting. They've got to have minimal geopolitical risk. They need to have a potential world-class reserve. They have to have fundable projects. If you can't get the money, you're never going to get them off the ground. And they have to have a competent management team. And I think the presenting companies here today will prove that they can make all 4 of those points, each one of them. Second thing that you need is you need the veracity and a knowledgeable speakers, and we've got those, as I've already inferred. And third, you need fourth, you need a credible audience and an influential audience. And I can tell you from, if you don't know your neighbor, shake their hands and ask them what they do. I think you'll be impressed with their credentials in every case. We have a great, great group of people here. We have people, as I've mentioned, from the exchanges. We have people from the media. And we have a lot of good high net worth individuals and a lot of funds. So the companies are going to get a good bang for their buck as well. The obituary also reminded me of the story about the old, mildly mendacious promoter from Canada who had always done a great job of promoting those, what they say, the definition of a mine is a hole in the ground with a liar in front of it. Well, he did a very good job in that regard, but he too succumbed to worldly pressures and was standing looking in, trying to get into the gates, pearly gates, and here was St. Peter, and there was an enormous crowd lined up, and he was at the end of the crowd, and he asked the fellow in front of him, well, what's all this about? He said, you know, technology, it happens up here as well. The whole computer system crashed, and St. Peter's is doing one at a time, handwritten, to get you in here. Well, this guy was not used to waiting. And about 6 or 7 minutes later, St. Peter looked up, and the entire crowd was dashing down the stairways to hell. And right at the end of the line was the old promoter. So St. Peter grabbed him by the shirt cuff and said, what are you doing? Where are you going? He said, I convinced them all that there's a major rare earth and critical metals discovery down there. He said, well, that's terrific, but where are you going? I said, well, you never know. Just might be true. Michael, if you'll give us the truth from the fiction, we present it. Dr. Michael Berry.